Call the meeting to order. Welcome to advisory board meeting for October 5th. Joyce Terrio. Here. Rob Garrity.
Here.
Kara Moore. Here. Jonathan Hurwitz.
Here.
David Lutz.
Here.
Mike Gee.
Yep.
Ryan Bichkowski.
Here.
Thank you. And Susan Klein here. All right, so we were anticipating having the last bit of the budget and capital stuff from Justin and Todd tonight, but they asked for an additional week. They're still putting some numbers together, so they're not going to come until next week. We were also supposed to have energy here tonight to discuss Article 15, but they have decided to pull Article 15. I don't know if they're going to resubmit it or if they're just.
I think they expect to for the spring.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the one that had to do with things, and I think some of the feedback we gave them was they need to make a decision on the boiler before they do an energy audit. It costs money, so maybe that's hopefully what they're working on. Maybe. And the Board of Assessors can't come till next week to answer the questions that we had about the veteran tax loophole, not loophole, sorry, that was bad characters. Exemption. That was a bad way to describe that. Apologies. So next week, thank you all for coming tonight. Next week, we will be doing budget, Board of Assessors, and zoning/planning, which are the articles, all of the articles left. So tonight, we can approve the minutes for last week. We can discuss the 4 remaining articles, and go ahead and vote on those. I think they're probably pretty standard, but we can do it anyway and get it over with. And then we have some regular advisory meeting business that we need to go over. So, does anybody need the floor? Anybody have anything you want to discuss? If not, I'll take a motion for the minutes. Brian?
I move that we approve the minutes for last week's meeting as distributed in the second version where we correctly show Joyce was part of the roll call vote.
Thank you.
I second that.
All right, I have someone Zoom, so we have to do a roll call. Mike Gee,
Yes.
David Lutz.
Yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz,
Yes.
Susan Klein, yes. Kara Moore.
Yes.
Rob Garrity, sorry,
Yes.
I'm looking up here and not thinking at the same time. Joyce Terrio. Yes. And Brian Bichkowski.
Yes.
Thank you. That's been approved. All right, so some general advisory board business, because we have 2 open positions or had 2 open positions. Since the last time we assigned boards that and again, I mean, for the new people, I just want to explain a little bit this. What I like to do is have someone from advisory board be for lack of a better word, a liaison to the other boards in town. It does not mean you have to attend their meetings. It does not mean you are responsible for everything that they do. But if you could check in with their agenda once every so often, check in with their chair, see if they're going to have anything that we need to be made aware of. Like, for example, when this happened over the summer, these 48 zoning articles, that's something we would have wanted a heads up on. It turns out they pulled them, but in theory, that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. And can you remind everybody who's in charge of what and what they're supposed to be, just sort of, again, keeping track on, like, nobody expects you to sit through more 2-hour meetings, but, get in touch with the chair and say, hey, I'm your liaison. Just let me know if you've got anything going on or anything that happens in a meeting, direct me to the YouTube video and I'll watch it, that kind of thing.
So Jonathan is library trustee. David is DPW and planning board. Brian is public safety and fire station building committee. Susan is select board, and we have Jackie was schools and Camille was zoning board appeals. So those are.
I can take schools.
Okay.
What do you know about the schools?
Okay, so Mike is gonna take,
Do you want to take both like Norfolk and KP? Is it?
yeah, North Every Debate, and again, it's just to get in touch with their chairs and just say, here's who I am. Let me know when you're doing something of importance that you think we need to be made aware of. Usually that just means, are they gonna have any articles, things like that. And what was the other one?
CBA.
Zoning, would either of you like zoning?
I can do.
Okay.
it. Unless Jason.
Do we have anything outstanding? We have Joyce said we have one.
I sort of, I did see. I have a broader question and I brought it up last time, which is why I got the DPW, but is there? Should we have one for police and fire?
Well.
Did you see Brian? Never mind. I apologize. No, yeah, okay. I heard,
Public safety.
I heard public safety building and I.
He's kind of overseeing the, helping us with the fire station. He's just,
Right.
you know, keeping track of that and giving us a heads up if we need it. So far, we haven't really needed it much.
I can do Board of Health and Council of Aging.
Okay, do you want to put Kira down for Board of Health and Council on Aging?
What's left?
There's really not much, what do we have left?
That's all we assigned in.
Conservation and CPC,
I was gonna say the land use boards
Yeah.
outside of planning.
yeah, outside of planning.
Outside of planning?
Yeah, like conservation and, public
CPC,
housing.
something you said
Yeah,
CPC. that's it.
CPC.
I'd love to do CPC.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that? And again,
He's not- he can still remember, is he? You're, of
Yes, he is.
course he is.
just reach out and say,
That'll be easy.
here's who I am and here's what I'd like for you to let me know. Okay, great. Thank you. That was easy.
Just kind of make sure I have everything here, so before helping. Aging.
And Rob's taking zoning and Mike's taking the schools. Okay. Wonderful. And do we want to go ahead and remind me what articles they are and I'll just take motions on them if we want.
Yep, Article 1, pay bill. Article 6, the ride sharing appropriation. Article 7, is the committee reports, and Article 14 is the wetlands bylaw, unless anybody wants to just talk about conservation or, conservation again, so. Those are the only ones I think.
What article number was the wetlands?
14.
Reports. Okay.
I have a
Yes.
quick question about Article 1 before I make a motion on it.
Uh-huh.
They told us there are no bills, but don't we always wait on this one?
No,
We wait on it in the spring, but we're
Yeah.
like, okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
I believe unpaid bills, we IP it if there are none, right?
I can look at what. we-
Yeah, that's right, but I
Yeah,
just
we
want,
IP it if there are none. I just want to make sure.
we can reverse that if they show up at the day of the meeting and have
Correct.
some, but
Right. I think that's what we do because in case there is one, we didn't want to take a position on yes or no because we don't know what it is.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to indefinitely postpone Article 1.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
You have to take a roll.
Oh, shit. It's right Brian here. Sorry, Brian, messing me up. Brian Bichkowski,
Aye.
Mike King.
Aye.
David Lutz,
Yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz,
Yes.
Susan Klein, yes, Kara Moore.
Aye.
Rob Garrity.
Aye.
And Joyce Terrio. Aye. Okay, Article 1 has been IP'd for now. Article 6, which is the ride share, which is where they take the percentage from the Ubers. And various types of ride share activity within Norfolk. It's standard, we do it every year.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve Article 6.
Second.
Okay, Brian Bichkowski,
Yes.
Mike Gee. David Lutz.
Yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Yes.
Susan Klein, yes. Kara Moore.
Yes.
Rob Garrity.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
Okay, Article 6 approved. Article 7 committee reports. This is supposed to allow them, and I believe the fire station. Huh?
Justin has raised his hand on the-
Oh, Justin, I'm sorry. I couldn't see you. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I thought you were going to article. I don't know if I heard this correctly, and good evening, everyone. I'm not there because I didn't think I had much to offer for this meeting. But are you voting on Article 14 as well, the wetlands one?
Yes, if we
I
can.
would hold off on that. And particularly because talking with town council and talking with conservation, they might want to change that language to sort of proof of mailing. So I would just hold off on that particular article.
Okay, and are they gonna have that done by next week?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
And I can give you an update after you vote on Article 7, just on a couple of things in it. But
Article 7 is just committee reports, and I believe the only one is the fire station at this point. Who's gonna be coming, but obviously, that's just, do we even vote on that?
No,
Okay. All right, and then does everybody good with waiting on Article 14 and see if they have anything?
Is that the?
That's the
That was it?
wetlands.
Okay.
That's the one where they want to do, stop having to do certified or hand delivery and just start doing proof of, just certified mailing.
I would, but
He says they may change the language.
I would let the commission know that it needs to have a definition of what they're changing it to, meaning certificate of mailing theoretically has a definition, so they just can't say proof of mailing and leave it at that. There's gotta
Right,
be a-
exactly. Did you hear that,
Yeah.
Joseph?
yeah, I did. And that's why we're coordinating with town council to make sure we're cleaning that up. So if you don't, guys don't mind, there's a couple of changes with the articles and I'll just quickly run through them. One, Article 15, the Energy Committee, I don't know if you all know this, they're withdrawing that article.
Mhm.
14, we're sort of tightening up the language with town council. That was one that I had flagged and so I think that language will change. And so for the next meeting, we should be prepared for that. Town council told me they should have some language for me tomorrow. Article 12 and 13, I'm doing this off the top of my head. These are the River's Edge article, the mixed use articles. That will be combined into one article because they're essentially both, if one is not approved, the other wouldn't be approved anyway. So they're one article, so that will be changed into one. And that's pretty much it. That will change for the warrant. Also, next week, my intent is I'm meeting with Todd on Tuesday to go over capital. Late last week, our free cash was certified at $2.9 million. So obviously that gives us our baseline, what to work with capital and budget transfers. So I'm meeting with Todd Tuesday and I think I told Todd we need to be prepared for Wednesday's advisory meeting to go through that list.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Can I ask a question?
yes, of course.
So Justin, the 2.9 million free cash, that does not include the, any ARPA money?
It does not, no.
So a rather large number.
Yeah, we usually have around 1.5, right? We usually
Yes.
have,
So
So, but-
you
but
have,
there's
it's trending in different areas.
yeah.
Sorry, Susan, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Okay, I just said, but I'm guessing it's so big right now because we have a significant number of capital items that we've been holding off on. And that's why it's, and we also used ARPA money last year, whereas we would have used free cash for some things. So I think that's why we put the same amount into free cash every year but because of the ARPA money, we have touched less of the free.
I don't think it carries.
So a variety of things here.
She said that it had been around 1.5
Yeah, usually we have around 1.
before we make all those decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just so, but 2.9 is huge.
Yeah,
Compared to
that's what
that.
she's, yeah.
She's agreeing. It has nothing to do with how much we spent last year. No.
No,
That's what I'm
no,
saying.
what I'm saying is normal years, we would have used, like 1 year we used all but. So we would like to keep, I think we would want to leave 1 million in for the year. Like we have to show so much in I believe Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, I had this
Yeah.
conversation with Blythe when the year we cut the budget, the year of COVID, when we cut the budget really big, and I said that we cut the school budget by 1.2 million and they wouldn't use 847,000 of the free cash, and I wanted to use that. And they said, no, we have to leave it in there to protect our credit rating. Is that correct? You
So-
leave it in to leave a certain amount, or you try to leave a certain amount in free cash to protect the credit rating, correct?
Yeah, so I obviously wasn't part of that conversation. However, understanding what you're framing as, you would want to leave an undesignated fund balance essentially, which is what your rating agencies would like to see. So I imagine that's what Blythe was probably mentioning there. Just a FYI, I think looking at the town's past history of free cash, Susan and the members that have said it, it does seem like it's ranged around 1 million, 1.5. But actually last year, the free cash total was $3 million total. So we're very close to what we had last year for free cash, just slightly below it. What generally has been the,
Normally, we would use probably 2 million of that for different budgetary things and capital items, but because of the ARPA money, we're using a little bit less, I would assume.
I was just gonna mention that. So yes, typically what the town has done, they've used about half of the free cash for capital projects and then kept the other half for, undesignated fund balance and then to adjust in you sort of your annual town meeting. Obviously this year and years, outlying years is a little bit unique because we have ARPA funds. So we'll probably do a mismatch of different things. So part of our capital meetings have had ARPA discussions as well. I still generally think that the town will do about half in capital because there's been a lot of deferred capital and deferred maintenance. So this gives us an opportunity to catch up a little bit on that. So I do think we'll still stay in the same realm of using half of the free cash for capital. But I'll be talking with Todd about that and have more information for you on Wednesday about that. But I would assume, or I would just tell the advisory committee, it's likely we'll do the same thing as we have done in the past.
Yeah, I just remember that year, I know Jonathan and I both were really adamant about wanting to use that free cash money to offset the cuts they were making to the school, and they didn't want to do it because it would have, Blythe said it would have hurt our credit rating if we dropped our free cash below a certain level. So I think that's why, Rob.
Okay.
Why they keep a certain amount.
Yeah, a rating agency would probably have some trepidation seeing a large use of free cash to cover your
Recurring.
budget.
The bigger problem.
Well, we agree on that, on the recurring, but I know, I can't remember who else was, I think it might have, I don't know, I don't want to speak, but I know that we wanted to use it because the point was, if you can't use it for a one-time budgetary save during COVID, which is the exact definition of a rainy day fund, when are you going to use it? Why is it sitting there? But
It was
That's
That's what a lot of,
no,
go ahead, sorry.
yeah, no,
I was gonna say, that's what a lot of communities have faced with, for example, using the stabilization funds as your rainy day fund. And so they were caught in the conundrum during COVID where they're like, hey, this is exactly what you have a stabilization fund. How are you going to hit us when we utilize it? But then I think rating agency understood that, but they said, hey, if you do utilize it, then you have to come with a plan to replenish it.
Yeah.
And then we won't penalize you. But if you don't have a plan, then we do penalize you. So
Right.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, we voted on those articles. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, sorry to get you out on this rainy night for such a short meeting.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, go
Can I
ahead. Yes,
one question? I'll try and not keep everyone here for an hour with this. When we're preparing our budget for each year, is there an estimated amount that we plan to collect through tax revenue that becomes free cash? Does that make sense? Meaning, like, do we have a sense of, for next year, we're putting together our budget, we have forecasts for incomes, we have estimates for the expenses. Where does the free cash come from? Is it that we overestimated?
That's a great question.
I'm just trying to understand, how do we end up each year with a million and a half of free cash?
Justin and Joyce and people, so it's free cash is tax revenue beyond 2.5 that you got, like, that you didn't expect.
Yep.
Okay, because your tax revenue, you know what you're gonna get, because you set your 2.5%, this is your levy, and I'm just gonna get this money from all you people by splitting it up by your value. Sometimes people will build things that you didn't know about in the beginning of the year, and you'll get revenue for that. It's fees that came in above what you budgeted for, and it's spending you don't do. Plus, it's any free cash from the previous year you didn't spend. If you let your free cash just hang around and you don't put it in stabilization or do something with it in that fiscal. So what you're talking about is, do we ever,
We build a cushion.
like, do we build in a cushion?
Well, it seems like every year for all eternity, we have 1 million to 1.5 million free cash.
Which we have to.
Well, actually, not for attorney, because, when I mean, this was bad years, but we would have years of like, 300,000 free cash or
Yeah.
less.
Right, and so on a budget of what are we at, I don't know, we're at now 35, 50, right? So that's a pretty small percentage if you, right, I mean.
So the state likes you to have 1.5 to 2.5%.
Right.
Right, which is for us 3 to 5%, which is 1.5 to 2.5 million. So we're in the ballpark, I guess, Justin. Right,
We are.
sort of-
Rob, I think you surmised it pretty well. Actually, I was on the DLS like gateway website the other day because this is what I like to get in. And actually, so the town has had some pretty lean times in free cash. It's had $100,000, $300,000. Last year was pretty much the largest free cash that I had seen of the past 5 years. And so just to add on to what you said there, generally, when you're budgeting, obviously use conservative estimates, particularly on your local receipts is where you sort of have a lot of leeway, state aid. So there's no way really to budget to say, hey, I'm going to get $3 million in free cash. But particularly for the town, what I've noticed is that there's been some turnover, a lot of turnbacks by departments not expending all of their budgets, and obviously conservative budgeting in terms of local receipts and state aid. That's where the town has had the flexibility in free cash. Obviously, we like to continue that because our free cash is largely how we fund our capital in the town. So I
That
think
being
we'll
said,
endeavor to
free cash
continue that.
also shows that we are not allocating all the revenue we could. Thus,
Well, that's your point.
under budget.
This is why I said I don't want to keep people here for an hour, but I'm just curious as to, is this analogous at all to what's happening at the state level, which is, oops, we collected too much tax from everyone and maybe we should refund some. If we have twice as much free cash this year, 2.9, as we've had for whatever period, 1.5. I understand we have this long list of capital projects we'd love to throw money at, but it kind of seems that maybe we should also put on the table for consideration some rebate of over collected taxes beyond what our budget actually called for.
Well, Jonathan, we're about to go for an override for the public safety building, so it's kind of weird to give money back days before.
I understand that, right? But I guess that's the point I'm making is that hasn't been voted on yet. That is a debt that hasn't been incurred yet for our current budget, right? For the current year, we seem to have collected a lot more than we've allocated. So either we should be out, to your point, maybe allocating more in the budget and from an expense side and not being as conservative. It just seems strange we'd end up with that much more free cash than we have in the past. And
If I remember the discussions last year, it was largely around state aid and how much state aid was coming in. And we, at the time, thought it was going to be a lot less, and then it ended up being much greater than we budgeted for. But in the budget decisions last year, it was around anticipating a lower amount of state aid given COVID and the recession or all those things. So I think that's where this delta was mostly from, if I remember.
I would also, if I could, say that the state has a formula that's built into law. And they have a surplus that exceeded what their cap on that surplus was. We don't have the same mechanism. And it would be difficult to set such a cap without, I don't even know what the cap is. I didn't live here when they voted it in, so.
Yeah.
You couldn't vote when they voted it in, so.
I understand the mechanics behind that.
No, I understand, and I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate it, because
It's the, it's going to be the optics of it, which is when we announce at town meeting, hey, everyone, we have twice as much free cash as we've had in the past however many years. Here's all the list of things we're we'd like to do with it.
But when we hold it and go for an override and reduce the amount of the override for the public safety building, it's gonna be a better optic too.
I would note, and Justin would know this too, because he's as a fellow DLS geek. There is a provision in state law that would allow for an underride vote, and I think it's happened twice in Massachusetts since like 1982 when they created it.
Reduce your
happened.
tax levy.
It's
Yeah.
happened very rarely, but yes, you're right. You
Yeah,
can
so
do an
the-
underride.
Once the tax is set, they never go, you never get them back. No.
Would we have to do that to do a refund or would we?
I don't think that would even help you do a refund. That's just for your next year's taxes.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
so
it wouldn't be a refund. It's called an underride and it's for your following year taxes. You could reduce your tax levy. Very rarely happen, but there is a mechanism to do it.
I think we have enough deferred maintenance needs that I'd prefer us to make sure that we take care of, everything in town before we.
Let's
Pull
see
money
what they
back.
propose next meeting. Let's see what they propose next meeting, then revisit that, Jonathan. I think that's not a bad idea.
Who's the they you're referring?
Justin and
Okay.
Todd.
Right. Yeah, the capital plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you were talking
I'm
about.
sorry, I see that the screen.
No,
I know they have a couple of big ones and then they have a few smaller capital items that they want to go over, so. But I think, not trying to spend the money, but I think we're gonna be spending a percentage of it, so. Well, yes,
Justin, could you bring us next time stabilization fund balance?
I looked that up as well. I can bring it for the next meeting.
Okay, groovy, thanks.
anybody else? All right, well, thank you for such a short meeting and sorry I got you guys out on a rainy night, but we will take care of everything next week.
You need a motion to adjourn or is it?
Yes.
Also move.
Second.
Oh god, I did roll call. Brian Wichkowski. Nice to meet you.
Yay.
Joyce Terrio. Yay. Rob Gary.
Aye.
Mira Moore.
Yes.
Susan Klein, aye. Nothing Hurwitz.
Yes.
David Lutz.
Yes.
Aye.
Mike, thank you.